Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday Tea Time for St Andrews Golf Magazine. This evening I'm joined by Les Bailey of Pro Golf Now, and we'll be discussing the previous week's Ryder Cup and all the action at Glen Eagles, including all the controversy over Tom Watson and Phil Mickelson. But we'll also be previewing the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship, which has several of the players from the European team, but no American players, which is a disappointment. Some American players, but none of the team that was at Glen Eagles last week. But we'll start by talking about the Ryder Cup and Glen Eagles. There was many doubters over the last 10 years or so as to whether Glen Eagles deserved the right to host the Ryder Cup, and I think resoundingly it proved that it did. Les, I thought it was a fantastic setup. The golf course was fair, and the staging of the event was unlike any event I've ever been to before.
Well, it looked to me like that there were a lot of happy customers too, because the place was just packed. I mean, it was packed on Thursday for the practice rounds.
Yeah.
There was as many people there, and in fact, I wrote that in a blog that there was as many people at the practice round on Thursday as you see at a regular PGA event here. You know, barring a Masters. You know, like the Masters or a major championship.
Well, I took a photo. I was sat on a Thursday. I was sat in the grandstand at the first, sampling the atmosphere as they went out to practice, and the crowds on Thursday ringed that hole, the first hole. It was almost like a final day of a major for a practice round. It's astonishing.
Yeah, I thought it was a very well put on event. I'm not real happy about the outcome, but you know. It was a great golf tournament.
Well, to be quite honest, we'll talk about the match in a moment, but from a fan's standpoint, getting from A to B was very easy, from the train station to the Glen Eagles station, and then straight through the checkpoints for the tickets, scanning for any items that you shouldn't have on you, etc. That took very little time at all. Then over on the footbridge that they'd erected over the motorway, and straight onto the golf course, straight up to the tented village. The tented village was more like a tented city, actually. It was absolutely amazing. Could cater for anybody, and it really was a really well put on event. They used the land well.
Well, I thought it, you know, from a perspective of on television, it looked nice. Everything was green and beautiful. The weather was a little cold a couple of days, but you know that's what you're going to get there anyway. So
sure, but the doom-mongers, the worriers, said we're going to have a Monday finish. There was no rain, there was no mist. It was perfect. The sun came out when the trophy was being lifted. It was absolutely what everybody would have hoped for.
I'm surprised that you were able to see the sun with from the mist of the champagne flying in the air.
Well, we'll now talk about the Ryder Cup and the win that actually didn't look like it was going to be that easy at the start. The first session, it was pretty competitive, and America came away with a 1.5 lead, but the foursomes just killed the American team.
It did. It absolutely did, because I played golf myself on Friday, and we picked up the Sirius Radio broadcast, and man, through the four balls in the morning, it was very competitive. I thought, wow, we're gonna be in this thing, and Tom Watson was a genius for putting, you know, Jordan Spieth out with Patrick Reed, and voila. And after we got through with the golf tournament, we started listening to the afternoon competition. It was like, uh-oh.
Well, I think it was a good match. It won't maybe go down as one of the greatest Ryder Cups ever, I don't think.
No, absolutely not.
And just because Sunday was really okay, the Americans started very well on Sunday, but they just couldn't keep it going. And in the end, it was a very comprehensive win for Europe. The singles, they won 7-5, I think, or 6.5 to 5.5.
Yeah. Well, I thought that you know, sending Jordan Spieth out, and when he got that early lead on McDowell, I wasn't comfortable with it, because McDowell is a fierce competitor, and I knew that wasn't going if Jordan made one mistake or two mistakes and let it get in his head, he was in trouble, and it's exactly what turned out.
Definitely, and I think David Livingstone on Sky made the point that it was all about the emotions and how they handled them, and the Europeans handled their emotion and channeled it much better than the Americans did, evidenced by Patrick Reed and his antics on Sunday.
Well, I have to agree with Elizabeth here. Patrick Reed was the star of our show,
without doubt.
And Jordan Spieth, if he's got one negative on his resume, is when he gets down, man, he is hard to come back. Because I mean, as long as he's hitting good shots and making putts, he started missing some putts there, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And the big surprise for me was, Patrick Reed missed a couple of putts on Saturday and kind of went south on us there, but he came out on fire on Sunday and seemed to just put that in the back pocket and forget about it. I was really surprised. I thought he might come out and still be shaky, but he actually he took the fight to you guys.
Very much so, and I think Ewan Murray also made the point on the broadcast that he thinks he's going to be the next major champion, or a major champion for certain. The way he performed over those 3 days, he stood out a mile from being the best American.
Well, I had written in a blog, if we had 12 Patrick Reeds, we would have won that thing.
Yeah. It's a bit like if you have 12 Tiger Woods, you would have won it as well. But
yeah, oh yeah,
didn't have either.
Unless you had 12 Roy McIlroys and then we might have been in trouble again,
Since you've touched on it, possibly one of the best singles performances of Roy McIlroy, and he started off like a train. 6 birdies in a row, 6 under, or 5 birdies and an eagle, or something like that. To start
he absolutely never let Ricky Fowler in that match. Yeah. I mean, there was never. Every time Ricky Fowler would look like he was going to do something, Rory would make a putt or something on him and devastate him. I mean, he never did come. He wasn't competitive the whole Sunday.
No, and Rory just didn't let him. He birdied the first and just went on from there, and just a comprehensive beating it really was, and it emphasised the confidence that he's showing at the moment. And we'll talk about the Dunhill later, but he comes to St Andrews now, a place where he's hungry to win, and the form he's in, you'd say he was certainly the favourite, and could be a good win for him. But Justin Rose was probably the best player for Europe over the 3 days, I thought.
I would have to give Justin Rose and Roy McIlroy both a co-MVP on the Ryder Cup, because Justin Rose was, him and Henrik Stenson together were just the other freight train that we couldn't overcome. Yeah.
Oh, well, that match on Saturday morning will be remembered forever. I mean, it was really incredible. Bubba Watson. Who was his partner?
Bubba who? I think it was Mahan, wasn't it? Hunter Mahan, or
yes, I think so. And it was just incredible. I mean, the number of birdies those two teams made between each other on that morning.
And that's really what made Patrick Reed's victory on Sunday somewhat a little bit special, as he beat Henrik Stenson.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't it wasn't the bottom of your list there. It was one of your top guys that he beat.
Yeah. Oh, without question, and he certainly will gain confidence from his performance at the Ryder Cup. And the same with Justin Rose, and even when he left Stenson that afternoon on the Saturday, he played with Keimer. He's comfortable playing with everybody, it seems.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So let's get on to the captains, and first Paul McGinley was widely praised for his role and his attention to detail and pitting. He would fix the draw on the European Tour. Apparently, he said this over the summer, so that Nadal, when he was playing in Europe, would play with Dubuisson and get them working together. And he couldn't do that with Ian Poulter and Gallagher because Gallagher qualified or got the pick so late. But he's been widely praised, and it certainly bore fruit, I would say, on the Sunday. His preparation and the singles order he got spot on, and obviously nobody complained about him, which was obviously a good sign.
Well, yeah, you're right. Well, even with Gallagher had to play his way in, and even Gallagher said that Paul McGinley told him, he said, "I'm probably not going to pick you. If you want to play on this Ryder Cup, you need to go down to and in Czechoslovakia and do something to get yourself in here." Yep. And that's exactly what he did,
Yeah, very much so. And just from the backroom staff, he had Sam Torrance, he had Des Smith, he had Jose Maria, he had Miguel, he had Padre, players that are slightly older, but they're still playing on the tour, and they're still connected with the players of today. Whereas if you look at Tom Watson's backroom staff, unfortunately for him, Steve Stricker didn't play that prominent a role, it doesn't seem. And the other two just are so far removed from the ages of the players that they can't connect with them. They're not in touch with them on the tour, and it seemed, I mean, I have to say I agree with what Phil Mickelson said. It's just the way he said it and when he said it.
Well, let me just clarify this. The situation wasn't good for Team USA.
No.
I mean, if you look at the Ryder Cup captains and people just around your Ryder Cup program in Europe, they're all ex-captains. They all played well in the Ryder Cup. They all have captained a Ryder Cup team. We don't have that here in the U.S. and I think it's a cultural problem. Is what I think it is. I don't, they keep talking about getting Paul Azinger back and what can they do to fix the problem. They have to fix the problem at the cultural level.
Yeah, you have to continue to keep involving the former captains. So Davis Love, it would have been an advantage, surely, to have Davis Love. He would have been able to learn from mistakes he made last time, and the experience he had in the foursomes and the four balls to help. And Tom Watson, I think, he's a legend of the game, but I think possibly arrogantly he believed that this Ryder Cup was the same as it was 21 years ago, and it very definitely isn't. And Europe did not have the strength and depth, even though we had stars in the early 90s like Faldo, Sevioli, Langer, Woosnam. But below that, we didn't have anything in terms of the talent that we've got now. And the Americans aren't as dominant, and it's not as easy to just turn up and be an inspirational figure, because at the opening ceremony, I thought, wow, this is some captain. Tom Watson's speech was just awesome. And then you got into the action, and it just didn't happen. I think possibly I thought it was a good decision, but I think it was a mistake by the Americans to pick him.
Yeah, in hindsight's always 20/20, but
yeah.
it might be that, but until they solve the cultural problem, it's not going to change. It doesn't really matter who they pick. I mean, Ricky Fowler said it all. He said, this is an exhibition round. Who cares? And show me a Team Europe member that said that.
Mm.
They go there to win. They go there to play well. They go there to support their teammates, and they go there to win.
Oh yeah.
Our rank and file and our older players didn't do crap at the Ryder Cup.
No.
I mean, you had Furyk and you had Mahan and you had Bubba Watson. They never pulled a point out. I think Mahan got a half a point. Watson didn't get a point at all. It was horrible.
Well, the picks were a total nuclear disaster for America. I mean, Webb Simpson with possibly the worst opening tee shot in Ryder Cup history, and ever since then he just didn't perform at all. And you look at the people that he didn't pick: Chris Kirk, Billy Horschel. Need I say any more?
Well, the logistics of the Ryder Cup being when it was didn't really give. And I wrote this in a blog that had Billy Horschel not bungled that 6-iron shot at TPC Boston, and had Chris Kirk made that putt on 18, it might have well been Billy Horschel and Chris Kirk in that Ryder Cup, and it I think would have been a little better. I don't think they could have slammed it home, but I mean, look, the two rookies went out and performed.
Oh, the rookies did.
Who would say that two more rookies wouldn't have went out and performed? I mean, the fear was putting two rookies together against a formidable team.
Yeah.
They kicked their butt.
They did. They absolutely did.
in that first four balls match.
So, but I think it's the problem was that Jimmy Walker and Ricky Fowler, they played so well for 3 matches. They all went to the 18th. They were spent, mentally spent. They shouldn't have been out there in the afternoon. They got whipped in the afternoon on Saturday, and you've got the iconic player in the team sat on the bench, even though he's texting him saying, "Let me play, let me play." I mean,
yeah, him and Bradley. Well, Bradley hasn't had a great season. Bradley hasn't been great since he won the PGA, but at least he was a fiery competitor. I didn't see any fire at all from Bubba Watson and Hunter Mahan, and I mean during the press conference when Phil was ranting, Hunter was looking at his watch. Isn't it time to go yet? Get the hell out of here.
Well, it's going to be different in 2 years' time. It's going to have to be, because there's no way America will accept 4 consecutive defeats in a Ryder Cup. It's never happened before, and it's close to happening. And
yeah, but look here. Your team in Europe starts nurturing Ryder Cup when kids first get on the challenge tours and stuff. They're constantly preached Ryder Cup, and our culture doesn't do that. Ryder Cup is an exhibition match that only the old people care about winning, and that's got to change. It's
yeah, it does have to change, because it's a huge event, and it's a huge event for the PGA of America.
And I even wrote in a blog on I think it was on Saturday or maybe Sunday that no, it was Monday morning. I did a recap on the Ryder Cup, and the rest of the world was watching the Ryder Cup, and most of the people in the U.S. were watching the Detroit Lions beat the New York Jets.
Yeah.
Because that was the most important thing on TV, and that's a cultural problem. The people here just don't get fired up for the Ryder Cup. And if you look at Medina in 2012, half of the people screaming in the fairways were from Europe. Those people saved 2 years to go over and watch that match.
Yeah, you're right. Unfortunately, it's but there's nothing you can do about that.
NFL absolutely nothing.
So, but just touching on what Mickelson said, and it's more important when he said this. In the press conference after the Ryder Cup, with Tom Watson there, with the whole team there, that was questionable, to say the least.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Dixie Chicks did a few years back when they went to England and complained about our government out in public like that. That was definitely an argument for closed doors.
Yeah.
Back at the home front. That shouldn't have been on national TV, but that's Phil. Phil's upset about something, he'll tell you about it.
Well, do you think that 2016 you could see him as captain, because he's going to be, I think he'll be done by then, to be honest. I don't see him playing senior tour, and middle 40s I think would be a good time to do it. Still in touch with the tour players. He knows how he wants to structure the team. And
are you talking about 2016?
Yeah.
I think you're probably looking a little bit further down the road, but I think there's going to be a strong lobby to bring Paul Azinger back.
Look what just happened. You brought back a legend that won it 21 years ago. Desperation has set in.
But if you listen to Paul Azinger talk today on, like his interview with David Faraday and stuff, Paul Azinger still kind of got, you know, and Freddie Couples is tired from doing the President's Cup, but Freddie Couples would be another good young guy in his 50s that would maybe make a good captain. But I think you're maybe one Ryder Cup away from Phil actually being, unless he, you know, goes old school and brings his clubs and says, I'm going to play too, you know. The last pick on the team is him. He is. It's like Phil has made every Ryder Cup he's been in on points. He's never been picked.
No.
And he said he thoroughly intends in 2016 to make the 2016 Ryder Cup on points. And that may just be the catalyst that gets Phil off his tail and gets him back into playing some good golf. I don't know, but that would be my guess.
Well, he's also got the Olympics to qualify for as well, which he's well off at the moment. So, you know, he's got a double goal there. But it was a great Ryder Cup. It wasn't the best ever, but it's from a golfing standpoint, the golf at times was absolutely amazing. And from the setting, the staging, the hotel, the golf course, everything was brilliant, and the whole Scottish nation involved in one way or another. Just a small mention on Junior Ryder Cup, which we touched on, Elizabeth and I, last week. That was some event. I mean, to see 3,000 to 5,000 people there for 2 days, to watch these juniors, some of them are the best juniors in the world, and it was highly competitive. And if only the senior American team could bottle what the junior American team has, they might win.
Yeah, but you see, the problem is they get up to tour age, and all of that goes out the window. You know, Spieth and Reed both played a lot of collegiate and match play type golf, but it seems like once they get on the tour, it's like they don't like the format anymore. They don't like to play that kind of golf anymore, and we're back to stroke play.
So a fantastic Ryder Cup, and that leads us on to the second straight week of big-time golf in Scotland, here in St Andrews at the Alfred Dunhill Links Championship. And a good field this week, but unfortunately it's not as strong as I would have hoped for, and I think most people would have hoped for. Only 4 of the playing European team are here. The captain's here. There's none of the American team here.
Well, none of the American team, but there is American in the
There are, but
David Duvall's going to be there.
Ryan Palmer's here as well. He's staying at the Gunvegan Hotel, just off the golf course. So that's good to see, but it's a shame that the organisers couldn't have tempted a few more of those players to stay on. Unfortunately, with the FedEx Cup running up to the Ryder Cup, it's probably not possible, but it is a shame. But Rory McIlroy is here, and apart from that Friday afternoon on the 2010 Open, he's loved St Andrews. This is where he got his tour card in 2007, and his average round here for many years was something like 69. He loves the place, and the course is suited to his game, and I think he's obviously the overwhelming favourite this week.
Well, wait a minute now. Just tease me for a minute here. Doesn't the Alfred Dunhill is played on 3 golf courses? Played on St Andrews, Kingsbarn, and Carnoustie, right?
It is, yes.
And do the players travel between those courses on consecutive days, or do they just play one course for the whole?
No, they travel between the courses. So obviously, Carnoustie isn't playing as hard as it does during an Open Championship, for instance.
Right.
But he's come close here 2 years ago, 3 years ago, in the Dunhill, where I think he came second to Michael Hoey. It's obviously is more than just the old course, but with the conditions we've got now, they're all playing relatively easy, really. all level.
Yeah, you guys are looking for your first 59 this week, aren't you?
Well, yeah, we're still looking for that, yeah.
Well, the organizers are hoping it happens this week.
Yeah. Well, maybe not at the old course. That would be a bit.
Yeah, but King's Barn and Carnoustie, it's hard for me to think about Carnoustie and not have vivid images of Sean Vandervelde trying to take off his shoes so he can get in the pond. What was it, 99 that he did that? Or
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to play a lot different to how it does during an Open Championship. But also Victor Dubisson, Martin Keimer's here, Stephen Gallagher, Paul McGinley, Ernie Els, Oosthuizen, Schwartzel, Monty's playing this week, Darren Clark. You've got a good field, and then you've got David Howell, the defending champion. You've got Peter Uihlein, Ryan Palmer, David Duval, and we're still speaking possibly about the Ryder Cup. The controversial Nick Faldo is playing.
Yes.
We have to discuss that.
I went to EuropeanTour.com and breezed it over because you told me we were going to talk about it. But yeah. Sir Nick Faldo is playing.
He is playing. Sergio Garcia is not playing. Thankfully for Nick Faldo, I think. And another thing that happened last week, obviously, it came out that he'd said that Sergio was useless in 2008 and wasn't a team player, and it was a mistake that he was. And
Sergio's always had a good record in a Ryder Cup.
Oh my! And then credit to Graham McDowell. He stood up in the press conference and said, "This is wrong. It's out of order. He benched the best team in Ryder Cup history." Or, I think it was about time that they stood up and said something, because you can't go around saying things like that when Sergio's been the bedrock of the European Tour for the last 10 years. So it's a shame that it had to descend into that sort of name calling, if you like.
Well, hey, when you got six major championships on your resume, you can sometimes say just about what you want to say, A little bit like Johnny Miller, he had 2 and he still says what he feels,
Yes, yeah. Maybe you can say that in America, but I don't think you get away saying it here. So it's a star-studded field from a professional point of view, but obviously this week is also a Pro-Am event, and you've got the star of 50 Shades of Grey, he's playing. You've got Bobby Charlton, who's a famous British footballer. You've got quite a few, actually, famous European football players as well. Cricketers, actors. Huey Lewis is playing. Peter Dawson, the chief executive of the RNA, he's playing. You've got...
Isn't the Dunhill Links a little bit like our Crosby Pro-Am?
Yeah, it's a direct equivalent.
Yeah. And this is the last hurrah in Europe, right before they start moving south again?
Well, you've got, next week you've got the Portugal Masters, and then in 2 weeks' time we come back to London for the World Match Play. Strong field, but not strong worldwide field, unfortunately. But that should be a good event. And then it goes to Perth in Australia, and then you've got the final series, the 4 events after that.
Well, the race to Dubai playoff starts in Shanghai the last day of October, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah. The WGC, the final World Golf Championship of the year, and this is the final big event in terms of prize fund that can really impact on the race to Dubai before the final series. And obviously, really, the final series is going to be a parade for Rory McIlroy, especially if he wins this. Got such a huge lead that it would take somebody winning all 4, I think, to catch him, because there's no cut in any of them. So he's going to play all 4 or 3 of the 4. If he makes, I don't know, 100,000 on each, he's going to be uncatchable. So.
Well, he openly admitted that he ran just a little too hard. Maybe should have took a week off when they played in Denver. That was where he missed 4 putts in a row, or he 4-putted. What was it, 12th green 2 days in a row there? 2 days in a row, yeah. And it just looked like he was exhausted. He probably needs to take some time off between now and the race to Dubai. If he does, he's going to be unbeatable.
Well, I think obviously this will be his last event before the final series, so he'll have 2 weeks off.
Yeah,
3 weeks off. He'll have 3 weeks off, and then
I know after the Tour Championship, he said he didn't want to see his clubs until he got to Glen Eagles.
Well, I think after the Dubai World Championship, you've got the Australian Open he's playing in, and Tiger's tournament at Isleworth, and then that's it for the remainder of the year.
Correct me if I'm a little confused here. The IPS Handa, which is a WC event, right?
No, that's the tournament in Perth, which is the week before the WGC.
Right, that's the one that Adam Scott won last year, right? Or no, he came in third, if I remember right.
Yeah, last year, I cannot remember who won.
It was Dustin Johnson that won it, if I remember right. The first WGC event, Dustin Johnson won.
Well, yeah, Dustin Johnson won the WGC in Shanghai, yeah.
Right, so is that the same tournament?
No.
I mean, I can't see a WGC event being part of the race to the Dubai playoff.
It is. Unfortunately, it is, which is sort of a shame because obviously several European players don't get into it. But obviously this is the start of the final countdown to that series, and you've got a few star players from Ernie Els, who's always done well around here. He's won 2 Dunhill Cups. We're celebrating 30 years of Dunhill sponsorship this week, and he won 2 Dunhill Cups in its previous format for South Africa, and he's playing this week along with Ernie Els along with Schwartzel, who stays, and a large South African contingent because the owner of Dunhill is South African. So
right. I mean, they have the Dunhill Cup down in what is like the second or third tournament of the year on the Sunshine Tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to be good.
So the Americans who would want to play in the WGC event would have to play in the first tournament that had to do with the not Ryder Cup, but the
race to Dubai. Well, their points wouldn't count towards the European Tour. It's a WGC, and if they win on the PGA Tour, they get into the event, basically.
Right. That's why we should see some PGA Tour players down there.
Yeah.
Is that? I mean, guys like Billy Horschel and maybe some of the.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the first big event of the new PGA Tour season, obviously.
Right. Right.
Yeah, you want to. I mean, every player that's eligible should go there. The top 50 in the world are eligible. You know.
I mean, even though it's a race to the Dubai playoff event. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That sort of confused me, and since they started the new wraparound season, I'm never too sure what, you know. But WGC, I mean, he should have some top tour players, some top PGA Tour players there.
Yeah, sure. I think, and obviously you've got the players that play on both tours, so it's going to be a strong event from that standpoint. So, but it's going to be another. It's almost the culmination of the European season, if you like, here this week, and also the final part of the 2-week stretch in Scotland, which is really exciting for everybody here. Next week we have the World Hickory Open Championship, which St Andrews Golf Magazine are partners to, and we'll be there for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And next week we'll hopefully be able to talk about that on the Tuesday tea time, and just discuss a little bit about how it feels to play with Hickory golf clubs, and there's a professional prize fund. There's a lot of good players playing in this tournament, and there's a professional prize fund. It's not massive, but they're trying to grow it year on year, and it's in Carnoustie country. It's backed heavily by Carnoustie country. Played at Panmure Golf Club, which is just down the road from Carnoustie. And maybe in future years it may go to Carnoustie, but we don't know yet. Or hopefully one day it'll be played in St Andrews. That's the perfect fit, really. But people come over here from all around the world. You've got players from America, large contingent from America, Australia, mainland Europe, and they just want to celebrate how golf used to be played. And I'm looking forward to it immensely. It should be a really fun event, and a competitive one.
Yeah.
So it ends a 3-week stretch in Scotland, which is is good, showing the variety of golf in Scotland with a variety of equipment, variety of formats, and it really does boost the Scottish golf tourism industry immensely.
Especially since you don't have to part ways with that Ryder Cup for 2 years.
Wow, who knows how long it might be?
Yeah.
Well,
I know that the Golf Channel has dominated conversation for 2 days now on the Ryder Cup subject, and the analyzing of what's wrong and what can we do to fix it.
well, there was one article I saw about Australia joining America. I mean, it's the most preposterous thing that I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I
just ridiculous, you know.
Well, the it was pretty lopsided until you guys let the European continent in on your
sure,
gig over there.
That makes sense. Though we're part of Europe. We've got a European tour. We're in the same. You know, for many countries, same currency. Australia is a million miles from America.
Well, maybe we can recruit some of the South Africans. I'm sure they'd like to play too.
They played for Europe. They played for Europe. The European tour gave them an opportunity.
Probably, yeah.
You know? So no, it's a nonsense. America will win again. They'll probably win the next Ryder Cup. Europe have never won 4 in a row, and we have to select a captain one day that isn't quite on the ball. You know, or it'll just happen. These young Americans will mature, and they'll come into being superstars, and you know.
If we can get the young Americans to want to play in the Ryder Cup and want to win the Ryder Cup, we will start winning Ryder Cups again, no matter who's captaining it.
Yeah.
Because after all, the captains don't go out there and play. It's the players who have to go out there and look at themselves in the mirror and say, well, I just didn't make a putt when I needed to, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
And
okay, well, it's been a great conversation, Les, and we're looking forward to a great week here in St Andrews with the Dunhill Links Championship, and hopefully we get an exciting week with the top stars at the top of the leaderboard. Well, I'll let you go and find some tissues to wipe away those tears.
The big alligator tears.
And we'll see you again next week at the World
All right.
Open.
And I'll be ready to talk about the Dunhill Cup.